A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
A man with leprosy came to Jesus begging him, and kneeling said to Jesus, "If you choose, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, and said to him, "I do choose, be made clean." Immediately the leprosy left him, and he was made clean. After sternly warning him, Jesus sent him away at once, saying to him, "See that you say nothing to anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer for your cleansing what Moses commanded, as a testimony to them." But the man went out and began to proclaim it freely and to spread the word. So Jesus could no longer go into a town openly, but stayed out in the country. And people came to Jesus from every quarter. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I wonder if you find yourself sometimes in the situation, in the social settings, especially in the times when we used to socially gathered, that you end up with the company that they were kind of different. They talk about different topics, or the conversation kind of wasn't going well or fluent, and you, at some point at that social gathering, you realize, I don't belong here. Like, I don't know what they're talking. It seems like they really don't care about what I say. Like, I just don't belong here. So at that moment, you just cannot wait and get out of that social gathering and to go to more comfortable space where you feel like you belong. With those social gatherings, and we will go back to them at some point, certainly, you can always go out of the room. But there are situations in life that seems like they're persistent, that you feel I don't belong. And it's really unfortunate. It seems like we are in 21st century, in the modern world understanding, but the events of previous few months clearly show that racism, that sexism and homophobia, they're still real and present and alive in our world. And those approaches always will make people, you don't belong here. There will be people in our world, and maybe you feel like at this moment, because of the color of your skin, because of your language, or because of your culture or sexual orientation, and you feel, I don't belong. And it's an awful feeling, because deep in our hearts, we are meant for belonging. We are created by God into community. We are created to belong, and it's deep in our hearts. When I listen to that description from the book of Leviticus, how they treated people with leprosy, it's just simply terrifying. First of all, that was the illness that people were suffering from. So on top of that, they excluded them from the community. They have to dress in a certain way, they have to cover their faces, they have to walk around and proclaim unclean, unclean. Just imagine how those people must felt like. Those who created those rules, they didn't know how to deal with it. So their response to it was, let's exclude them. They don't belong here. And how often we react exactly the same way. If we don't know how to deal with it, if we don't understand, you don't belong here. We exclude people rather than trying to understand it, trying to understand where they're coming from, trying to understand their culture, trying to understand their language, trying to understand what's happening in their life. I don't know how to deal with it. You don't belong here. But that's not the message of the gospel. And we hear that very clear in today's gospel. The gospel starts with the word, a man with leprosy came to Jesus, begging him. So this is the man who had that experience, what was described in the first reading. He had to leave the community, he had to dress in a certain way, he had to carry the little bell and constantly yell when he saw anybody around him, unclean, unclean. Couldn't socialize with anybody. And just imagine if you yell this long and often enough, you actually start believing it. And that unclean seems like I'm unworthy, I'm not enough, I don't belong, I'm not loved. And it's kind of turning your heart into that dark place in life. And even when he approaches Jesus, it seems like it's a little bit with a doubt. Well, if you choose, you can make me clean. Am I enough for you? Am I good enough to even care for? Do you care for me? And how often, when we find ourselves in those places not belonging, when we feel like we are being excluded, we feel like, does anybody really care? Am I enough? Does God even care? Does God love me? Am I enough for God? If you choose. And this question is very real. And I'm glad that we are able at those moments to ask the question of God, God, do you care? Am I enough for you? And the answer is very clear in today's gospel. I do choose. Be made clean. Don't believe that you are not enough, that you are not good enough, that you don't belong, because you belong. You are beloved. And I think you've heard a number of times as we were gathering here and also online, we quite often reminded people, come as you are. Come as you are in the physical settings, come as you are wherever you are watching us online. We all belong here. Everybody's in a different place in the journey of faith. That's true. But we all belong because you are enough. You are being loved. Because Jesus says to all of us today, I do choose. Be made clean. Be who you are meant to be by love of God. If we don't believe that, we try to find the way to fit in. And especially in the teenage years, maybe if you're a teenager watching us right now, or if you were a teenager at some point, you know how strong is this desire to belong. So we try to fit in. We allow the peer pressure to lead us into the places where we really shouldn't be going. But even as adults, we so often fall into the trap that you so badly want to belong that we will do some stupid things in life. We don't have to, because you belong and you're enough. And sometimes in those moments, we feel like being drawn into that dark side of our lives. But the gospel says there is hope. I will invite you to watch a little movie and just to get the feeling how this might feel like.
I'm so glad that you're all here. I hope you had a great week. Let's start off with Vader. Anything you'd like to share? You know, this is a safe place.
Or maybe not so safe. Bump it.
I'm sorry, excuse me, what'd you say? Huh?
I said I've had a pretty rough week. As a lot of you know, I've been going through some tough times at home. Excuse me, Father?
Yeah, about that. I'm not your father.
All I care about at school lately is my status. How many friends I have, or how many likes I can get on my Instagram. Ladies, everything is all about me. I've been using the Force to bully kids just so I can feel better about myself. Or more powerful, I guess you could say. Then Mr. Kenobi failed my essay on what I want to be when I grow up. What? Are you kidding me? I lost my temper and ended up slashing his tire. You have failed me for the last time. I've been looking at things on the computer that I shouldn't be looking at. I just want to fit in with the crowd, so I've been giving in to peer pressure just so people think I'm cool. But it's not me. I feel like I'm wearing a mask all the time. I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like I'm fulfilling the purpose for which I was created for. Something that has meaning, something more. I know I'm supposed to use the Force for good, but it's so much easier to use it for evil. I'm always being called to the dark side. I find my lack of faith disturbing. No!
Don't you feel sometimes like wearing a mask all the time? Because we so badly want to belong. You can take off your mask today. The gospel is very clear. You can come wherever you are, wherever you find yourself today in life, with that request, if you choose, you can make me clean. You can make me belong. You can assure me that I'm worthy enough, that I can be what you want me to be. And Jesus' answer is very clear. As it was to the leper, so is to us. I do choose. Be made clean. You belong.